Our first speaker is Michael Wildauer, and he studied molecular biology and went to pursue his PhD in molecular biology at University of Vienna. And then he went from academia to the pharmaceutical industry, and now he is head of digital and data science at Takeda. And I'm very happy that we have you here, Michael, and we'll hand over now to you.
Thank you, Felix. I'm going to share my screen. I hope now that everybody can see my slide deck. If that's the case, then let's get started. I was approached to give you a short talk about how you can transition from life science to a career in data science, and I'm very honored to be here. And I have structured the talk in 2 parts. So first is a very short company introduction so that you know what Takeda is actually doing. And then I'm focusing on the career in data science. For the company, so for Takeda, we are very proud to have a very long history of 240 years already, where we are part in the pharmaceutical industry. We are a Japanese company that is producing medicine, serving patients all over the world. We are focusing on rare and on complex diseases. We have over 50,000 employees worldwide. Our company headquarters are located in Japan, and we also have currently production and manufacturing sites in more than 80 countries of the world. In terms of therapeutic and focus areas, where we are working. So on the left side, you see our 4 therapeutic areas: oncology, neuroscience, gastroenterology, and rare diseases. And the focus areas are the plasma-derived therapies and the vaccines. I am, and most of my colleagues in Vienna are working in the plasma-derived therapies area. What I also want to point out, because we are located in Vienna, and that's, I think, also very interesting for you. What are we doing in Vienna here is we also have a very long history. The site itself, the first production buildings are here for almost 65 years. We are almost 3,000 employees in Vienna, so that's quite large. I think we are the largest pharmaceutical employer in Vienna. We have more than 25 products in Vienna that are being produced, and you see that we are fractionating more than 3.5 million liters of human plasma each year. That's quite a lot. We are located in the 21st district in Vienna, and what's also very nice is we have everything here, starting from plasma logistics, so getting the bags in down there, to the pharmaceutical production. So we have the entire value stream in Vienna, and that's really interesting because you have lots of data available from these different steps. With that, I'm going to switch gears. I'm coming to the second part, so a career in data sciences. And for that, I'm going to tell you a little bit how I ended up there, what is important if you want to transition into this field, and what I can share for you. So now to my introduction. As Felix already mentioned, I have a master in molecular biology. I followed up with the PhD in RNA structure biochemistry. I finished in 2015. Decided then to not pursue academia change into pharmaceutical industry. I applied at that time Baxalta. That was the company's name. We had some name changes going on over the last couple of years. I applied as a trainee here. That's something which I can recommend wholeheartedly, because it is very interesting. You're going to work on a lot of different projects that are very often entirely unrelated to your educational background. So you have to get up to speed pretty quickly. But that's nice. That's a challenge, and you're getting accustomed to industry and to pharma industry very quickly. You will have first experience of leadership, of leading teams, of complicated or complex projects. And you can also see here highlighted in red, one of my projects for 8 months was the assessment of IT capabilities in one of our departments, where I had a look what is available for that department in terms of software, in terms of skills of the employees. And I compared this to the ideal situation where the department has everything available, software, hardware, tools, training, so that they can fulfill their tasks most efficiently. You also see in my hobbies and interests section that I have always been interested in IT, in home automation, in programming. So besides life sciences, my second choice would have been IT as a study. And I also have some other non-nerdy hobby like gardening, friends visiting. Corona makes this a little bit more complicated at the moment, but I also, of course, like spending time with my 2 little kids and my family. That's for my background. After my traineeship of 2 years, I kind of stayed in the field. So you see, there's a red line where I had projects that are very IT related. I started afterwards to work in data analysis for root cause investigations, where we applied statistical methods like multivariate data analysis, principal component analysis, or things like that. So lots of data wrangling, collecting data from source systems and so on. And preparing them for stakeholders, for communicating that kind of stuff. In 2019, I was asked if I would like to take over the role of head for digital and data science in our manufacturing science department. That's the role that I'm in now. In this role, I am responsible for 2 data scientists and 2 developers that report to me. Interestingly, I had to recruit my entire team remotely during the pandemic, and I am also leading my team, mostly remotely, since all of us are working in home office. We are serving about 60 colleagues in everything digital and data science related in our department. I'm also responsible for an annual budget that is being used or that I'm using to spend on external projects, services, and I'm a key contact point for our global IT teams that I'm aligning with. So what is my team doing? We have mainly 3 pillars that we are focusing on. First is everything related to data that is already available. So we collect the data, we are processing the data from various source systems. Some of you might be familiar with ETL, extract, transform, load. We are doing statistical analysis on that kind of data with various machine learning models, everything that is available. Of course, we are also performing explorative data analysis, so where we simply, which is not solving or asking a specific question, which is more in the way of you take the entire data set, look for interesting correlations, and then see if you can deduct something that is important for our manufacturing processes. Can we improve a certain parameter with that kind of analysis? We're also training the organization in terms of what can be done in data science. That's, for example, where can I apply a machine learning model, where I can't. I am applying a machine learning model. What are the pitfalls, and so on. The second part is about data availability and visualization. So here we are working very closely with our other teams to deploy solutions to collect the data, contextualize the data. We are working with Takeda's data lake extensively to provide data sets for our colleagues. We are building dashboards for KPI calculations and so on. So that's also a big part. And the last part is more something that is in my responsibility, so not so much in my team. That's the organizational development, where we have a look what kind of skills and capabilities do we need in the next couple of years in terms of technical skills, but also capabilities, which I then use to build roadmaps. So how can we close gaps that I have identified here? And of course, I'm also coordinating then this implementation and periodically revising those goals. The next thing I would like to share with you is something what I'm doing and more interestingly, what I'm not doing. So I'm in no way a domain or a subject matter expert. I have a good understanding of the technology of current trends, but I'm not the expert for a technical decision. I'm more in the field of collecting requirements, having an open eye for potential solutions that can be applied to a problem in our organization. Therefore, myself writing code is very little. I am responsible for the strategic approach of the data science group, meaning that I'm not so far involved in the actual data analysis anymore. I have a lot of coordination meetings ongoing. I'm representing my local team in the global environment. I'm aligning with my counterparts on the other manufacturing sites to make sure that we have a common understanding. I am the one who has to polish business cases for external projects, review them, decide if you would like to pursue them or not. And of course, I'm also defining the priorities for my team and assigning the tasks to the team members. What is very important is that I have to be comfortable that I have to trust my team members with their technical decisions. As I said, I'm not the expert. I have the bigger picture. I understand what they are telling me, but the final technical decision is something that my team members make, and this is not. This is where I simply have to rely on their decision. Of course, I also have to support to defend those decisions in global meetings. I have to argue why this decision was being made, and I have to have the back of my team for those decisions. I am also presenting a lot of content to higher management and explaining it to an audience that is maybe in terms of data science not so well educated. So I have to be able to break down complex topics in an easy to understand way. For me, a typical day is stuffed with a lot of meetings. That could be that I have a team meeting with one of my team members. Of course, I have exchanges with my other digital and data science heads in the different sites. I'm also responsible for example, prepare the budget forecast for the next financial year, Then after lunch, we have, for example, department SureFix, where we are discussing everything related to our department. It is entirely possible that in the afternoon I'm giving a training session for our colleagues in the quality control department about the data lake, how they can use it, what they find in the data lake, and so on and so forth. I'm also reviewing the business cases, for example, for external projects, finalizing them and making sure that they are in a good shape so that we can continue with those projects. And of course, I have a lot of global alignment meetings, community of practices where we are sharing our approaches and so on. In general, the working language at Takeda in my team is English. We are communicating a lot with our global stakeholders. Therefore, English is the way to go. German, of course, is also preferred for the local level, but in the end, English is very common. My meetings are almost entirely exclusively remote due to the pandemic. In terms of working hours, our standard contract is 38 hours per week, but it is also possible to work part-time. That's, for example, the case for myself. I recently have decreased my hours to 31 due to my private situation with two small children that are sometimes very exhausting, but of course, very, very lovely. I want to end with an overview of skills and tools that I would see fitting if you want to pursue a career in data science. So you have to have a profound interest in technology. This is a very technical field. There's a lot of stuff ongoing in the academia in data science, which ends up in the industry. And you have to be on top of that and understand what's going on. Also, a basic knowledge about statistics is always good to have. Distributions, what statistical test to apply in which situation. That's also very important. And I would argue that a beginner knowledge of programming, coding is also really, really helpful because you will work with a lot of scripts, being it in Python, being it in R. And if you have an understanding what these scripts are doing, that the colleagues share with you, that makes your life much more easier. For the pharmaceutical industry and not just for data science, I recommend to get also a background knowledge in good manufacturing practice, good documentation practice, anything in GXP. Yeah, and in terms of software that we are using, I can only name the open source software. Of course, Python, R is highly used in my group. Plotly, Dash, Shiny for visualization in terms of data formats, pandas and feather data frames are doing a great job for us. And of course, many more libraries as well. I think with that, I still have used more than 15 minutes. I would like to finish here. And yeah, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that came up or have a discussion with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much for this very nice presentation. It was very clear. Maybe I will start with a question until people have made up their minds and wrote some questions in the chat, because I will read it from them from there. This data lake you were mentioning, what's this?
The data lake is actually a method or a system that collects the data from various source systems, contextualizes the data in a way that you can use it, meaning that you don't have to go into each source system, do a data extraction, and then combine those kind of data sets again for the final data set. You can simply go to the data lake and get your data there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you. And another question, you said that you reduced your working hours because because of your children, of your private life, how easy was this in your company to argue, or do you have there a very open-minded policy at Takeda?
Of course, I'm speaking more for my department. We have a very open-minded policy here. That's not an issue. The discussion with my boss was very easy. So she was very understanding, and I think in general we are a very good employer in terms of work-life balance.
Yeah, I think that's a great plus. I have a question from Janos Kondry from IMC Krems. Is the work of your team mostly concentrated to the Austrian EU parts of Takeda, or are they more generally applied to the whole of Takeda infrastructure?
I would say so. It is mostly related to plasma-derived products, and with that regard, it can be that we are also working on problems that have come up in, for example, the US or in Italy, but we stay mainly within our plasma-derived therapy business unit.
Okay. Then there is a question from Hina Mansour. And the question is, what competencies are needed to switch from one field to another, especially if you don't have any prior related experience? Even landing a traineeship seems difficult for first-timers. I'm looking to transition from plant sciences to biopharmaceuticals.
That's a tough one. I'm trying to answer it as accurate as possible. So I would say my experience showed me that very often people are not aware that with background in life science, there are actually a lot of opportunities in the pharmaceutical industry. So you cannot only go into, for example, bio life sciences or anything that has life sciences into the job description that has been posted. I would have a look for almost anything technical in the pharmaceutical industry. There's a lot of what you can do. You can start in our department, manufacturing sciences, where we have product experts that are responsible for assessing product quality, optimizing the production processes, and so on. You can do similar things in the manufacturing department, where you are a little bit more towards the actual process. So how big has to be? How to explain that? What's important for, I don't know, throughput or for optimizing process parameters. That are very often people that have life science background. You can also go into the quality control department. There are also people needed with life science background. And of course, you can also apply for the traineeship. That's also entirely a possibility.
Yeah, thank you. That was quite a nice answer. We have another question. How did you start learning the data science tools or program languages? What would you advise students which are interested in this or wanted to start?
In the end, there are no dedicated data science programming languages. Of course, there are languages that are, I would say, commonly used. That's, for example, Python or R, because they offer a lot of functionality that is needed, and there are a lot of libraries available that you can use. In the end, in my opinion, it does not really matter where you start. You can also start with programming in C or in C#, if that is something that you're interested in, because this is more a way of thinking and of analyzing a problem that you have to get accustomed to. In my opinion, if you start from the beginning and if you would like to transition into this field, then I would recommend Python.
Okay, thank you. That's also Python. And then there is a quite specific insider-related question, I think, from Alexander Hansel. How have the several changes in ownership and possibly leadership influenced your work throughout your time at the Austrian sites?
Yeah, of course. As I said, so we had two changes of ownership, at least since I'm in the company. For those not familiar, I started at Baxalta, which was then acquired by Shire, and then Shire was acquired by Takeda. Of course, okay. Those acquisitions are always come with changes. Some of them were pleasant, some of them were not so pleasant. That's how it is. In the end, at the moment, it's really good. Takeda has a good working model of and balance between what can be done locally, what needs to be done on a global level. So that works out nicely. But of course, in order to really move forward in with a department towards a common goal, it is much more easier if you don't have a change of ownership in between. I think that's kind of a given. If you have kind of a stability in your organization, you are more about to thrive and to be productive than reorganizing your roles and responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have any colleagues from your studies which went the other sides of the career ladder, so to say, they stayed in academia? And how do they compare their situation now to yours?
Yes, of course. So some of my peers stayed in academia. There are a lot of them that are very happy that were able to pursue their goals, to end up in a position that they wanted to end up in. We are in contact. I have a regular exchange with them. It's different. Of course, they have the liberty to work on projects where they can choose that they would like to work on. That's something that is a little bit less the case in the pharmaceutical industry. Of course, I have a goal, a department goal, a site goal that we have to achieve. That's I would say the main difference.
Okay, yeah, clear answer. Thank you for that. Okay, also I think we had a nice discussion round also, and if there are no new questions arising, then I would suggest we hand over to our second speaker. And our second speaker is Cristina Espino. Cristina is a talent acquisition professional at Takeda. And today she will share her advice on how to make a perfect LinkedIn profile to catch an eye of any recruiter, because these profiles are becoming more and more important. And we are very, very happy to have you. And please, welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Felix. Okay. I would like to ask you to imagine right now, kicking off my presentation for today. So imagine going to a conference and connecting with speakers, let's say, and peers of yours who are currently working on projects similar to your projects. And in that conference, there is one particular person that you would like to connect with after the conference, so post-conference. You go home, open your laptop, and search for, their name is Alex M. Yeah. So you search for Alex M on LinkedIn. only to find this. So my question to you now is, how likely is it that you're going to add one of these Alex M into your professional network? And my assumption would be at this stage that perhaps you would want to add the third Alex M, simply because this person is in Vienna and in the same city, let's say, but in most cases, it's rather unlikely to add somebody with such a profile to your connection unless you know them already. And this is really just a very simple example as to how the way we use LinkedIn has an effect on how our professional network perceives us. And it has an effect into your professional brand in general. So in today's presentation, I would like to go through the more prominent sections of LinkedIn. I'm sure we are all familiar with, we've already seen these sections, but what I would like to do today is concentrate on the low-hanging fruits and give you some tips on how to tweak your profile in such a way that it increases your visibility and it enhances your professional brand. So we will start with the first section, which is the introduction part. So I have here a snip of Yudan Lin's profile. I'm happy that she agreed for me to feature her profile on today's presentation. I found it randomly, to be honest, but I thought it was worth featuring, and we will learn later on the reasons why I thought that this is the case. So we will just skim through the introduction section and go section by section, basically. So we have here the background with unexpected data. Yudan uses a profile photo with neutral background. You can see her face. She uses here her location with Vienna, Austria, and adds tags that are relevant for her field of work with AI. You have data, big data, data science, and machine learning. On the right-hand side, you can also see her blog, but also part of her education. And last but not least, she has a standout headline. This is this part, so underneath her name, you can see that she makes use of the space that LinkedIn is providing us with. And in the next slide, I will explain to you the reason why I would like to feature the headline as one of those low-hanging fruits that I mentioned before. So what is it about headlines, really? It's really one of the most prominent sections on LinkedIn. Beside the photo, the headline is that part or that section that potential visitors get to see right away. And what happens typically is that users would spend between 5 to 10 seconds to make a decision whether or not to click on somebody's profile. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you highlight all your skills, associated skills, and expertise in that small area that LinkedIn is providing us with. And give visitors basically a reason to connect with you, be it for career opportunities or be it for future projects that you might be interested in. And there are recommendations on how to create that headline. So one of those recommendations is to speak to your visitors. So using the first person. Another one of those recommendations is to put emphasis on keywords, especially because it has also to do with how Google is showing your profile, talking about search engine optimization. So emphasis on keywords is really very important. Another recommendation is to use action-oriented words. So you could write something like, I create, I provide, I generate, XYZ, et cetera, So that is one other recommendation. And of course, last but not least, highlight your unique values. So what do you bring to the table? Give your visitors reason to learn more about you, basically. So I will jump back to Yudan's introduction section, and then we can dissect a little bit what she's actually using in this section. So I've noticed that she's mentioning a lot of strong keywords. So I've already read through them with AI, data, big data. Those are relevant for the industry, but also relevant for her field of expertise. She also mentions her associated skills with speaker, moderator, leader, and of course her value, providing innovation and human-centered breakthrough for better common data science good. We have data science as a keyword there, and she's also using action-oriented word with providing. So I thought this was worth sharing with you. But of course, I have other examples as well. So let's move to the other examples that I've prepared. There are 3 in total that I wanted to share with you today. So in the first example, you can see here a female user, recent Masters of Biomedical Sciences graduate with research experience in developing an ELISA-based immune assay, seeking full-time opportunities in related biotech pharma positions. For me, as a recruiter, this is a very good headline because right off the bat, I know that this person has just finished her master's degree and now she's looking for a full-time opportunity. I know that she's been working on ELISA-based immune assays. So, for example, if I were looking to fill a position, let's say in the quality control lab, where I happen to know that they're using ELISA-based immunoassay, this would be a profile that I would click on as a recruiter, just to find out whether it makes sense to seek a connection with her. The next one is a very similar example. So this person is seeking an internship opportunity in genomic data science for 2022, PhD candidate in bioinformatics and genomics. Again, here it's to the point, not beating around the bush really. I know that this person is open for internship opportunities starting next year, and I know the field of study, so genomic data science. So if I had, let's say, a department or a hiring manager who would be interested to employ such a profile, let's say, or such background, this would be also a profile that I would click on and explore further. And then last but not least, I think this was a profile from a LinkedIn influencer. So he writes, I help people land amazing jobs without applying online. Need help with your job search? Text me. So here you can see how this person is making use of the first person. And I think this was generally very interesting because, it sparked my interest basically, because who doesn't want to know how to land an amazing job without applying online, right? So I think the way this was written invites me as a potential visitor to explore the profile a little bit further. So all of them really include top skills. They use strategic keywords. The first two also adjust to their current situation because right now, of course, both of them are looking for either a full-time opportunity or maybe an internship for next year. But once they are employed and once they have their internship, of course, they can change this section of their profile and tweak it to show their current situation. And likewise, for example, if at some point in your career you don't want to be contacted by recruiters for specific positions, for example, you can also write that on your headline just to signal, for what types of positions you'd be interested to be contacted, so you don't get inundated with information coming from recruiters or potential project partners. I thought, and this is what I want to mention as well. So LinkedIn has a name pronunciation feature that you can see here on the third example. This is something that you can actually activate using the mobile phone, not so much with the desktop version, but I thought this was very, let's say, cool, especially if you have a name that is typically mispronounced, to just share, with your professional network how your name is actually pronounced correctly, right? And then some of the sections that I did not make a snip of, but I wanted to highlight nonetheless. So if you're actually looking for work, there is an open to work feature within LinkedIn, and there you can populate and signal to recruiters if you're interested in full-time opportunities, part-time, internships, and so on. And last but not least, the industry. So let me move back. So you don't get to see it on the introduction, you know, the industry that you populate in the background, but nonetheless, industry is one of those search criterion that recruiters typically use when they're trying to find, you know, specific expertise or skill sets on LinkedIn. So it makes sense to have this information in the background. So if you're looking for positions or collaborations within the pharmaceutical industry or biotechnology, then the recommendation here is to include that information in the background. Okay, so this is the headline section. We will now move to the About section. This is a section just below the introduction. And I call this the elevator pitch, really. It's a profile summary, and it should be an introduction to you as a person with, basically a concise summary, really highlighting your accomplishments, but also your aspirations. And also, of course, in this section, using strong words that are relevant for your industry and your field of expertise. And I have here, let's say, a formula that you can use to populate this part of your profile. So I think it's almost philosophical, the questions that I've written here, and not so easy to answer, to be honest. So I tried it out for myself. It's not so easy. So the questions are, who are you? What do you do? And why does what you do matter? And I have here a very simple example on how to answer these questions. So an example is, I am a teacher whose goal is to bring more women into STEM by leading a summer coding camp for girls. So who am I? I'm a teacher. What do? I lead a summer coding camp for girls. And why does it matter? It matters because my goal is to bring more women into STEM. And this is really just, let's say, a brief description, but of course, you are welcome to elaborate on this. And what LinkedIn data shows is that if you populate this section with at least 40 words, you're already increasing your visibility on the platform. So try it out. If it's still empty, it's better to have at least 40 words on there than nothing. Now, let's move to the About section of You Done. I made a snip of it again, and then we will go through what makes it stand out. So here you can see she's using the first person in her About section. She's mentioning industries. She's also describing herself. She's saying that she's a fast learner with entrepreneurial mindset, an evangelist of the benefits of digital transformation, passionate about cultures, she mentions. She also describes her uniqueness, what she brings to the table. Here, I found it really, really good to be leaving contact details because, of course, if you want to be contacted by recruiters or collaborators, and you have your contact details available, then, of course, it's easier to connect with you. And there's also a call to action. And last but not least, of course, all these keywords that are relevant for her field of work makes it simply easy for people who are looking for this skill set to find her when doing their searches. Okay. Below the About section, there is a section called Featured. And this section really just highlights your post you've authored, reshared, any articles or links, images, videos, documents that you would like to share. And this is just a means on how to bring your profile to life and bring to life your story, basically. Yeah. Okay, the next section. It's the experience and education section, and this is really very similar to a resume or a CV. We will see it in the next slide. So here we have a brief snip of, again, Yudan's experience in education section. It is all about listing your responsibilities and achievements, typically in chronological order, of course, highlighting your impact. And you can see here that she's also included rich media where appropriate. There is space for that. And it just, as I mentioned before, brings your story to life. And what LinkedIn data shows us is that profiles with experience or populated experience in education sections generate 8 more profile views, 15 more connection requests, and 10 times more messages. So unless you don't want to connect with people or being approached for projects or opportunities, then the suggestion really is to populate the section with your input. Now to the last section, to my clock. Skills, endorsements, and recommendation. So up to this point, you're talking about yourself, about your accomplishments, about your strengths, your expertise, and so on. But really, it's one thing to talk about yourself and another thing to have third parties validating what you're mentioning on your profile. So this section just increases your credibility. It also strengthens your profile. And what LinkedIn tells us here is that members with at least 5 skills are discovered up to 27 times more in searches. So you want to make sure that you really add those skills that you deem are important for your field of work and skills that you have anyway. So to feature them, basically. Here is a section of my skills and endorsements part of my profile, and the recommendation is to provide a broad range of hard and soft skills. So with soft skills, we're talking about things like problem solving, networking, negotiation skills, and with hard skills, we mean, for example, programming languages, software knowledge, math or statistics knowledge, analytical methods, essays, or also those skills that Michael mentioned in his slide. So anything that will help potential visitors to understand your profile better. You have, or LinkedIn gives us space for up to 50 skills. And you can basically add it manually by clicking on this link. And then in my case, for example, at some point in my career, I added recruiting and human resources, and I have been endorsed 37 times for recruiting and 36 times for human resources by my contacts. I would say 37, 36 is not a high number. I think it can go even up. But I just wanted to show to you how it would then look like. There's also the possibility to endorse people with industry knowledge. So you can see here, for example, in my case, technical recruiting, possibly endorsed by candidates that I've recruited for technical positions in the past, or aerospace from the time when I was recruiting for the space industry, for example. And then last but not least, I wanted to show you that you will be in full control of what is visible on your profile, because you can see here, for example, 6 pending endorsements, and it's really up to you. So if you see, for example, you're being endorsed for skills that are not so beneficial in terms of how you wish your career to progress, then of course you don't need to confirm any of those endorsements. So you are in full control of that. Now for the key takeaway. So updating your LinkedIn profile enhances your professional brand. It increases your visibility and credibility, as we heard. You are in control of what can be discovered about you on LinkedIn, and remaining connected really just enhances your opportunities. It opens doors, not only for career opportunities, but collaboration in general. And this is where my presentation is ending. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you very much for this very nice presentation. It's very clearly structured and nicely animated also. We have several questions. I will simply start now with the first one from Alexander Hansel. He thanks you for the talk and wants to ask you as a headhunter how often you actually use LinkedIn to look for new talents.
Quite often, I have to say. So I'm thinking about a percentage, but the more complicated the role, the likelier I use LinkedIn as a tool to reach out to potential candidates. So it's part of daily work to be using LinkedIn as a platform, that's for sure. I don't know, 50% of the time, I guess, or 50% of positions that I'm currently filling, I would look into LinkedIn. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's answering
Alexander?
it quite nicely.
Okay.
Another question from Janos Kondry. Do you tend to check other social media profiles of potential candidates in the very early phases of headhunting?
And by that, you mean, for example, Facebook or Instagram?
Yes, for example, I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Personally, I don't. I know of colleagues, not within Takeda, but generally headhunters are very resourceful researchers. So, of course, it could happen that profiles or people are being researched on different platforms outside of LinkedIn, but personally, I do not use it.
Okay, thank you very much. Then there is a question, from Alexander Hansel, as a recruiter, if you look up someone specific based on the previous connection you have made, for example, via mail, would a bad or empty LinkedIn profile lead to a negative connotation for you?
Okay, no, for sure. So it's different, of course, when you know the person. So the slides that I showed to you a while ago are more applicable for persons with whom you have not yet been connected with. So I would say, to answer this question, it's a no for sure. So
okay.
In that case, most likely there has been already contact with the person and a bit more detail as to what the background would be. So if I find an empty LinkedIn profile, it wouldn't put me off.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Then there is a question from Dela Feitel, and it's regarding to the first question. Do you directly approach them via messages via LinkedIn, or are you using your professional channels then?
Both. So so I would also just message directly.
Yeah.
And then of course, if they provide email addresses or telephone numbers, I would directly call or email them.
As it's important also to check the LinkedIn profiles, especially when you're in a searching mood, so to say, stage. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Then before, maybe we interrupted now with an off-topic question from Janos Kondry. Is movement of employees within Takeda from the European spots to Asian spots common or feasible? Are you moved?
So internal movement, you mean?
Yeah, internal global movements, yeah.
So what was the question again?
If you could be moved from European spots to Asian spots or American spots or whatever Takeda is, because Takeda is quite a big company.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, global mobility is likely within Takeda. That's for sure. So it is possible. Yeah, it is possible. Yeah.
Maybe I can comment also on that. So what we have quite often in Takeda is that we have so-called assignments where we need in the network a certain talent, a certain person with capabilities in a special field. That has to be filled for a couple of months or a couple of years. And this is then usually communicated in the network so that, for example, in our manufacturing site in Round Lake, there is an open opportunity for the next 6 months. And people who are interested in that opportunity, they can then contact the HR department or the future boss and see if this is something that fits for both parties. That's actually quite common, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And perhaps to complement that part as well. So if employees are welcome to apply to internal vacancies. So there are some vacancies that are solely for internal purposes, and it is connected with a recruitment process as well. But employees have can see those vacancies and of course apply to those positions if they are interested. And those are, let's say, more long-term type of assignments than outside of Austria, for example.
Yeah. I understand. Thank you. Thank you for this clear answer. There is an interesting question from Hina Mansour. Sometimes there is a risk of your profile getting scooped on by your colleagues or competitors, even your boss, if you're looking to change the job. Mm-hmm. What to do in such a delicate situation in terms of profile visibility? What do you recommend?
LinkedIn has features on, what you share and what you do not share. And for example, unless your supervisor is a recruiter, there is, let's say, the possibility to signal to recruiters or talent scouts that you are open to work without necessarily making it visible to your employer. So
okay, interesting.
There are features like that for sure. So I would suggest there to assess the settings that you have and then change it or adjust it as appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Then I will shortly answer the question from Andrea Bauer. Also, they really actively hunt via LinkedIn also. And then there is a question from Julius Hochiner. He would like to know if side jobs are also viable to include, you did where your university studies, which are not really field specific. Mm-hmm. Since you can still learn social skills from these experiences. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he answered it somehow partially himself already.
Yeah, for sure. Because of course, as we know, hard skills is one thing, but soft skills is another thing. So if you think that whatever experience you gain from that side position is relevant also for your future position, then by all means mention it.
And there is a question a lot of questions. It's very nice. There is a question from Marie Vogt. How should I build up my LinkedIn profile while still in my bachelor studies? Is it necessary? Is it?
Yeah, so I would suggest at least populating those sections that I mentioned before. So trying to create, a headline that reflects your current situation, that you're currently doing your bachelor degree, and then also include a strong keyword. So I don't know which area of field of studies you are currently studying, but also include that. And then also populate the about section, make it authentic using the first person, for example, and then trying to answer those 3 questions. I think it's regardless of where you are in your career path, just generally trying to enhance your visibility is a plus, I would say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay.
I would like to add on what Christina also said. Because she really made a successful and very great presentation. And thank you also for the opportunity to present my LinkedIn profile. So to the question, please keep in mind that your personal experience, your personality is also your brand. So if you can start to think about it on the very early stage to where you want to go, which career you would like to follow, and also which values you want to, spread around of you, then this will also catch or attract employers that also fit to your personality, fits to your way of working, fits to your personality. So really, please, I really encourage you to do it. And if it's not it's not a game where you need to be perfect at the first time. The beautiful part of LinkedIn is that you can always change it, edit it, and Christina gave us a great methodology with those questions. So really ask yourself those questions repetitively to see where you are and what are your goals that you want to reach out with this LinkedIn profile or other type of social media profile.
Thank you very much. It's great. Yeah. Okay, cool. Then I would have a question from my side. How many people you have to check, or what was the most difficult position for you to get or to have a successful hunt, so to say? What was the how many people did you have to write or to try to convince that this is a good position for them?
Oh, that's a difficult question to answer, because from my perspective, of course, when I contact people on LinkedIn, it is for me an opening. It's opening the doors to further communication. So what I would like to avoid is to send out so many messages to different people, and then once they not reply to them back. I think that's
I understand.
A good way forward. So
you're quite focused already, and
focused, correct? Because once that person shows interest, then of course it is my goal to engage, in further conversations with those people.
Okay.
So hard to answer that question.
It's not generalizable. Okay, I understand. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.